I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people who have not kept them.
This is the Polish Ambassador, featuring the Grouch and Scott Nice. Don't get it twisted.
I might be conscious, still I like to fuck.
I like it.
Do a little yoga, then lift some weights up. I be as I'm supposed to, perfectly imperfect.
Word.
Indulge in deep combo, get hype when she twerk.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome to World Kidney News. This your boy, Steve Belcher. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Let me tell you, this show tonight is going to be lit. I'm telling you, we're trying to bring you the great shows with professionals who deal with the same experience that you do as well. Share this broadcast. I'm serious, because there's over 600,000 people that deal with this disease. There's many warriors on Facebook and Facebook groups that have kidney disease. They need to be here watching this broadcast tonight. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors of the night show, the makers of Renadel, Kibo Tech. Before I tell you about this amazing product for people with low kidney function, let me read the FDA disclaimer. So these products, which is this, it's a supplement, are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or to prevent any disease. Now, with that being said, this product right here, this is an amazing product. It's a probiotic. In fact, James Fabian, host of Dad Vice TV, which has over 85,000 YouTube subscribers, he uses this product and he endorses it. This product does something as a probiotic called intestinal dialysis. And what that is, it uses probiotics and prebiotics in the gastrointestinal, or the gut or the stomach system, to support healthy kidney functions. So it basically eats up the nitrogenous waste and eliminates that through the stool. So with that out the way, let's get to our guest. Now, our guest, oh my gosh, she has an amazing story. I mean, really amazing story. One of hope, one of sadness, one of accomplishments, travel. I mean, it's everything. And so you will want to hear her story, because it could definitely help you out. This warrior, because she is a kidney warrior, because she's a donor, master's prepared dietitian. She's traveled all across the world with her husband through the service. God bless him, and we thank him for his service. So she's had contact, just like myself, because I traveled as a travel nurse in 2006 across the country, and she done met amazing people, helped a lot of people, I'm sure, because when I did the advertisement for a post, a lot of people chimed in and said how great she was, how caring, integrity, just an overall good person. So I'm going to give her a VIP introduction. So all the way from Arkansas, because she goes to many places because of her husband. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on Cassandra Floyd. Hey Cassandra, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Welcome, welcome, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on World Kidney News.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad. I can't think of Jess' last name who introduced us, but she's a renal dietitian as well. And what's your last name?
My last name is
Jess.
Yes.
No.
Jess' last name?
Yeah.
Jessiana. Yes. Jessiana's last name is Seville.
Okay. Yes, she introduced us, and I'm glad she did because your story is very unique. I've met a lot of dietitians throughout my 33-year career, and I never met a dietitian with a story like yours. Can you share with our audience your story and where it starts and how you got to this point of being a renal dietitian for chronic kidney disease patients?
Well, it starts out, my sister was diagnosed with lupus. And as a lot of lupus patients, it affected her kidneys. She ended up on dialysis. And when I was a senior in college, the doctor started to say it's time. It's best that she gets a transplant. I am one of 5. We are all girls, and we all went to get tested. And out of all of us, I was the one match for her. And we scheduled it and we made sure it happened. So I donated a kidney to my sister. We had a successful kidney transplant, but the lifespan of the transplant did not last very long, about 9 months.
9 months. Wait a minute, before you move on, because I read your story before the show in depth. Did 9 months, now you were a match. Did they prepare you and your sister that could be a possibility of that complication?
Yes, they did. They did prepare us. This was many years ago, well over 20 years ago that we did this. But yes, they did prepare us for that. The process is very in-depth. You go through a lot of psychological training. You will see psychologists. You will see sociologists. They make you do a lot of intense work. There's a lot of intense blood work that's done. A lot of cross matching that they really try to work beforehand to make sure that the kidney will take. And they also do sit you down and prepare you for what may be not the best outcome.
Mm-hmm. Now, one more question, when that when the organ failed in 9 months, did you go through any type of mental anguish?
Yeah, I will say I definitely went through some mental anguish.
Mhm.
I was very upset, very, very upset. Because I thought that I could save her. That was, I thought, once they told us one of you guys is a match, and they even told us when we all went for testing, you all may not even match. So we kind of had prepared ourselves that we actually may not even be a match. But then when one of us matched, it was like, oh, it's perfect. We don't have to go searching any further because we have one right here. So yes, I was deeply, deeply hurt that my sister was going to have to go back to Dallas. I was afraid because I thought, once she got this transplant, everything's going to be perfect. It's going to be good. So yeah, I was really, really upset and really scared at that
Uh,
point.
um,
Scared for my sister. Yeah.
right. Did
Yeah.
you hold
And
any resentments?
any resentment
Yeah.
doing it.
Well, not doing it, but that it felt that maybe, because now as reading your story, it pretty much put you at jeopardy now, right?
No, but no, I have no resentment at all. I actually can tell you, because at the time I was still a college student. And I remember calling the doctor because, the surgeons that give you their name and all that. I remember calling him and saying, so can you just take that one back and take the other one? Take the other one out of me
Wow.
and use that one. Like, what other methods can we do? And at that time, I'm still a college student, not realizing, and he said, no, Cassandra, we can't do that. We can't put that one back in you and give her the other one. He says that's not gonna work. So yeah, as a college student, I remember I had just graduated. I had just graduated from college when the kidney failed. But I remember calling that doctor and saying, it's got to be something you can do. It's got to be something. But at this point, no, I have no regrets at all. I almost honestly feel like my path was planned because now that I am in a place that I do need to really watch my own kidneys, um, the path that I've taken, the education that I've received has prepared me to keep myself in good health. So no, I have no regrets at all. And then what time I was able to give my sister that she didn't have to go to Dallas, I'm always grateful for that.
Mhm. Now, did they say the cause of why the kidney failed at such a short period of time?
No, I don't know at that time. No, I honestly can't tell you,
Sure.
kind of being a little younger and probably not as in tune with the ability to ask a lot of questions. Um, I don't exactly know why.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, did that experience lead you into becoming a renal dialysis social worker?
Well, at that time, I always wanted to become a renal dietitian because I did know how important nutrition was, even when she was on dialysis, and how she would have to watch her fluids and things like that. But I honestly, because of that experience of the kidney failing, and like you said, the process of the mental distress, I wasn't ready to work with the patients just yet in that
Hmm.
in that frame of being in a dialysis clinic, working with kidney patients. I always wanted to do it. I knew eventually that's where I wanted to be, but at the time I wasn't ready. So
Got you.
as most dietitians, I went off on the normal path of working in a hospital, and taking just your basic, general floors, trauma units, cardiac rehab. all those types of things. I've even done public health. I've worked in WIC. I've worked in HIV. I've done
Wow.
the gamut of nutrition. But I knew eventually I was going to find my way back. Yeah. But I honestly also feel that that past experience has really helped prepare me to work with patients with chronic kidney disease, because I've had the experience of working with other comorbidities, that when I see them, not only can I help them with their renal disease, but I can also assist them with possible other comorbidities that they may have.
Hmm. Now, you had your own maybe little scare with possible kidney disease. Can you share a little about that with our audience?
Okay, so as I have one kidney, and the doctors, they said you'll be fine. One kidneys, they work perfectly. Well, at probably about the 20-year mark, a little over 20 years post transplant, at just a regular checkup, seeing a physician, he was very concerned about my labs. They hadn't changed dramatically, but just him knowing that I had one kidney, he didn't like the way my lab work was looking, and how my GFR was decreasing, my creatinine was going up. So he said to me, I need you to see a nephrologist. And I will admit, I was scared. I was scared. Those words scared me pretty bad. So I understand when my patients are scared, because I've been in those shoes. I've been in those shoes that when the doctor looks at you and say, "Oh, not sure if these kidneys are working quite right," it will scare you. It will scare you. So after that, I did see a nephrologist. And when I saw the nephrologist, she said one sentence to me that kind of took away me being scared. She looked at me and she said, "You are a dietitian. You know what to do. Your knowledge as a dietitian is what's going to keep you from going into full-blown end-stage renal failure." So I had to go home and really think about that and be like, okay, I know what I know, and I know what I should do and what some things I shouldn't be doing to keep my kidneys healthy. So I think knowledge is very important. Just the education piece of patients getting some education about nutrition and how nutrition can really affect the process in which their kidneys lose function, gain function, or maintain the function. And the goal is to try to maintain as much function as possible. And nutrition plays a huge piece in that.
Say it again. It plays a huge piece.
Yeah, it
I,
plays a huge piece.
I want to ask you a quick question. It's kind of off the mark for a minute. For a friend that's a kidney warrior, while I'm thinking about it, I don't want to forget it. But if a patient has a high PTH,
Okay.
can it be controlled with medication? And say if it's still going out of whack or control, but is surgery always necessary, or parathyroidectomy always necessary for a person with a high PTH?
I will say medication can control it. It can. But there becomes a certain point, if it has been uncontrolled for so long and the medication is not helping, Usually surgery is the last resort, but surgery is the last resort after you have tried different medications and different doses, and making sure that you do try to keep the diet in balance, because not only does the medication need to be in effect, but you have to monitor the diet and make sure that the phosphorus intake is within range, because then it allows the medication to work better. And if at some point you don't see a change and you know your patient is doing all that they can do and they're following everything that they need to do, surgery may be that inevitable, so that you don't get into a space where you have lost so much bone density that it's like you cannot come back from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And while we at it, I mean, just a little PSA. How important are binders?
So binders are important, but diet is your first, armor in monitoring the phosphorus. Your phosphorus levels, that is your first go-to. If you can monitor that diet and really keep that diet under control, you can limit the amount of binders that you have to take.
Even on dialysis.
Even on dialysis, and actually take binders in a situation where you know it's a high phosphorus meal. It may be your birthday, and I'm a dietitian. I will not tell you if it's your birthday and you want to have a little bit of cake and ice cream. It's your birthday, but you may need to have a binder with that meal. But on average, if you can control the phosphorus intake, you may not even need binders. I've definitely had patients that didn't take binders.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
and I've had patients who may take them at certain meals because they usually eat a bigger meal at dinner, but they ate smaller meals at breakfast and lunch, and they only took one a day. So diet is the first defense. It is the first defense when it comes to controlling things such as phosphorus.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, let's get back to your story. I got so many questions to ask you about that, but getting back to your story. Now, when you heard the word nephrologist, you said you had to go home and really think about changing this lifestyle so you wouldn't be going to dialysis 3 times a week. So what did you do to change your behavior that got you on the path of healthy living and nutrition?
So I will tell you, I am a former aerobics instructor. I love to lift weights. Former personal trainer, and I'm all about some weights. I love cardio, but if you leave me in the weight room, that's my go-to.
Well, let me ask you something about the weights. Did your nephrologist mention not to lift too heavy because of the breakdown of the creatinine from the muscle tissues?
Yes, and that is true. You want to still have some weight bearing exercise. Body weight bearing exercise is better in that aspect. Heavy lifting does create that creatinine breakdown. So that was one thing that I personally had to change, because I was in the gym and lifting weights, and the other thing, I would have my protein shake before, come back, have recovery protein shake, and just knowing too much overload on protein. Just too much overload.
Yes, I understand, to try to build those muscles.
Yes. Yes.
I used to do the same thing, lift weights, and I got kidney disease stage 1. So my nephrologist told me the same thing.
Yeah. So so I had to kind of change my whole method. So I started getting into yoga.
Wow.
some yoga practicing, which yoga is a very good toning exercise. So if you're still looking to have a good tone, yoga is excellent because it's a weight body bearing exercise. So I started getting into yoga. I had to get rid of those protein shakes. I started eating more of a plant-based diet and pulling out the meats. I'm not a big beef eater. Chicken is usually my thing. Chicken and fish. I actually grew up, my parents owned a seafood and produce market. So we grew up on fish. At the time, I was living in Nebraska, and that's a landlocked zone, and there's not a lot of fish there.
Right,
Not a lot of fish to get to. So I probably at the time was eating a lot more chicken than anything. So I started doing more seafood when I could get it, and just more plant-based meals. So I honestly, instead of having a protein with breakfast or lunch, I would save my protein and have it with dinner when I would sit down with my family, because I would cook a meal, and I took my protein out of breakfast and lunch. So just taking the protein out those 2 times of the day for me made a huge difference in my numbers, and using more a plant-based meal, having fruits and vegetables throughout the day and saving the protein, and having, portion controlled protein, making sure you do watch how much you have if you do limit your protein to once a day or 2 or 3 times a week. You also want to monitor how much of it you have at that one time.
Sure. Cassandra, I just want to ask you a question. Dad Vice TV, who is watching, he has kidney disease. He raised his GFR from, I keep forgetting the numbers, it was 6 or 8 to 30 something, 37 and 38. So he's real big on kidney coaching and kicking kidney disease to the curb. But he says something very important here. He says the secret to living an amazing life with CKD is working with a renal dietitian. They are the real heroes. Now, with that being said, we know it's no secret that these dialysis facilities are proliferating across the United States. Now, with so many units, it's impossible to have a renal dietitian in every single facility. Now, with that being said, with your time working in dialysis unit, just your opinion, do patients fall through the cracks on renal dietitian education?
I will say my time in the facility, there you do have a enormous caseload. You do. Some patients may get more time than others. As dietitians, we do our best. We run hard, and we try to make sure that we do get to all the patients. But there are times that we feel that we don't get enough time that we would like to have to educate our patients. We try to get creative and do group educations in the lobby. But sort of I with Dad with Advice TV just said, the key really is that personal education that you get according to your stage of kidney disease. That is what is the key. So even on dialysis, you have some patients that still have some renal function. And to be able to work with them in their state, they all still need their individual education. So yeah, in dialysis centers, sometimes it can be hard. It can be really hard to get as much individual education as you would like to give your patients, because a lot of times our caseloads are pretty enormous.
Yeah, and I don't blame you or any of the dietitians, because me working in that environment, I've seen it. But my question is, if the dialysis companies are supposed to be there to help the patients, help them manage their dietary needs, or maybe their social cycle with the social worker, or even the nursing needs with nurses, but yet they continuously build units, and knowing that you can't spit out dietitians and social workers and frontline personnel like that to come in to care for a community of patients that are just coming out of the hospitals and into these centers. And a lot of times dietitians or social workers will have to go between facilities. I even seen that dietitian be at this facility on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and be somewhere else on the other days, and try to catch up on Wednesday for the Wednesday patients. And it's like, I mean, the patients don't know. They don't understand what's happening. They just know they may have a dietary question and they come to the charge nurse, which I was one, and say, hey, I have a dietary question. And if I don't know it, I got to say, oh, I got to refer you to a dietitian, but she not here. And I may not even know the schedule. The door may be closed and locked. And, communication sometimes is broken in these big facilities. I could be off one day and come back. You could be off the day I come back, and no one knows what your schedule is. But see, a lot of patients don't know that. And that's what I try to preach, to know what's going on with your care, ask questions, do your research, even if it has to take your family member to help you, because as these facilities start to proliferate, it's going to start being harder and harder to get the education needed, like that personalized education that Dad Vice TV is talking about. Because in the 34 years I was doing this back in the 80s and 90s, we were kind of able to sit down on the stools and roll up to the patient's chair and talk to them and give some real good education. But now it's impossible to do that.
So we do go from clinic to clinic, those kind of things. But I will say you just gotta, as dietitians, and like I said, with your staff, you really gotta figure out creative ways to make sure that it happens. But I will say also, as dietitians, the groups that I've worked with, we have always advocated to our clinics that more dietitians need to be in the clinics, more dietitians, more social workers. You just need more. It does work out best when there is one dietitian per clinic. But like you said, sometimes someone may even just go on maternity leave and you have to cover another clinic. But it does work best when there is one dietitian, one social worker per clinic. You get to be with your patients more, and
Absolutely.
And just as a dietitian, when you really get to know your patients and you have time to spend with them, you really can help them on a whole nother level than when you get to just have 5 minutes with them. But because you learn their families, you know who's cooking, and those are the things you need to know. You need to know who's cooking in the house, who's buying the groceries, because sometimes who's buying the groceries is not the same person who's doing the cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to things.
A lot of people don't know that say you could be at a 30-chair unit that's supposed to maybe have 2 dietitians, and say they can't find one. And if you had a 30-chair unit and Monday, Wednesday, Friday is 3 shifts, and let's just say for conversation's sakes that each shift had 30 patients, that's 90 patients right there for you. And then we're not talking about TTS. So let's just say TTS got 2 shifts and each shift is filled with 30 patients. That's 60 right there. So that's 150 patients that one dietitian has to cover because the unit can't find another dietitian, or they may want to save money or their productivity and work that one dietitian for 150 patients. And then all of a sudden, when it's time for inspection or the state comes through and something not up to par, they want to hold that same dietitian accountable, but didn't give them the manpower, the hours to do the work.
Yeah, that does happen. That does happen. Yeah.
And patients don't know about that.
Yeah, I will say, yeah. And then you'll have patients who, like, if you do have a substitute come in, they're like, no, I want my regular dietitian. Because they've gotten used to you. So but yeah, that does happen. And I will say, like, in my experience, even my patients will say, slow down. You're running around here, but you're running around the clinic because you want to make sure that you do at least get to speak and find out if anybody has any concerns for the day. But at sometimes I do think the patients do realize when you have a lot to do and they know you got a lot of people to see. But like I said, I really feel like really the ultimate goal is they do need their individual education. They do need that. So it would be great in a perfect world, and especially in a dietitian's dream world. We definitely would not have 150 patients per dietitian. So we can only just continue to advocate that the numbers change and that we're not held to those type of numbers. And we prefer to have definitely less than 100 patients, preferably somewhere between 80 per one dietitian, but not 150. But to be honest, that is usually about the average number that one dietitian does have. So like I said, in a perfect world, and definitely a dietitian's dream world, we would want to not only have but about 80 patients. But as dietitians, we know that if that other 80 or other 70 patients are going to go without a dietitian, we are going to run and we're going to try our best to see everybody, because we know how important nutrition education is and how it can affect the rest of their life, or just definitely just how they feel the next day and the weeks to come. And we don't want them to miss out on nothing. But like I said, we do still need to advocate for making sure our patients are getting the best that they need and the best that they deserve. And what they do deserve is that individual education and the time out of the professional staff that's going to see them. They deserve the time. And if you overload the staff, with patients, the patients are the ones who suffer.
Now, yeah. I want to ask you something. There's 2 questions I want to ask. One I know is going to be long, so let me just ask you this one first. What's your take with so many DaVitas next to Family Dollar or in close proximity of McDonald's or Burger King, Wendy's, liquor store, fast food places. As a dietitian, what is your take on that?
So I've had to deal with that. I've definitely had to deal with that. With the the dialysis center being right next door to the donut shop or the convenience store, and your patients will come in with things that you definitely don't want them to have. Snacks that Sandra just went to get a snack. So I'll be honest, as a dietitian, you have to be 2 steps ahead of your patient. So as a dietitian, I'll tell you, one of the things I did is I went to the liquor store, convenience store that was right next door to my dialysis center. I searched out what they had in that convenience store that was at least some worthy of my patients having while they were on the machine for a snack. The better choices, the different size bottles of soda and water that were available to them, and also the cost price. I literally went in there and did like some cost price, because if they're going to spend their money, they're going to make sure they get what is best for their money. So I actually went in there, and for my patients that I know always visited the convenience store prior to coming into the clinic, we just had some talks about how to choose different things in those stores that would be better for them, and not necessarily taking their ability to go shop for themselves and go purchase a snack or whatever they wanted to before or after dialysis, but just giving them the education and the knowledge to make a better choice. And I honestly feel like as dietitians, that's what we have to do. We have to equip our patients on knowing how to make a better choice so that they get a better outcome. And I even had one patient who started to purchase the popcorn instead of the Cheetos. And in a month, they're like, why is my phosphorus so much better? Because you stopped purchasing the Cheetos, and now we purchase the bag of plain popcorn for the snack. So sometimes it would be, like I said, in a perfect world, we would want the dialysis center to be next to, some of the greatest grocery stores in America.
Well, let me just say this. Me personally, I feel these clinics should be in a medical park or some type of medical park, not in someone's backyard. A lot of these clinics are in people's neighborhoods where they can walk out the door and go across the street, and they at the dialysis clinic. But yeah, it could. I would like to see some in grocery stores or rather next to liquor stores as well. But it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So no, you're right, and to be in a space of a whole medical facility would just be awesome, because if that patient then needed to go for a referral for an access check or things like that, then everything is kind of like right there. So yeah, that would be the most perfect world ever, because you wouldn't have to worry about those patients, especially working in areas where you might work in a rural area and transportation is an issue, or even an urban area where transportation may become an issue, and they've already used their bus passes for the week or for the day, and they can't go for this extra appointment that you want them to because it wasn't necessarily on their schedule for the week, and they have to schedule a metro transit that's going to take 2 days, and you need them in the clinic being seen, their access being seen today. So yeah, that would be an excellent plan to have
Mm-hmm.
facilities set within, medical parks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cassandra, what is the biggest in your career working with kidney patients? What has been the biggest challenge working with newly diagnosed patients coming into the outpatient facility for the first time, just getting this new normal starting dialysis? What's been the biggest challenge with those individuals?
Well, to be honest, working in the outpatient setting, the biggest challenge and the biggest problem that I feel like I have seen is that a new patient comes in and they'll tell me, well, I've been working with my doctor for 2 or 3 years, and, we've been working with my kidney disease, and they've never, ever seen a dietitian. They were
Oh my
never,
God.
ever referred to or even told that you should see a dietitian, or even there's some things that we can do to change, that you should change your diet. So that is a big issue that I have. I personally want more people, even before they become that outpatient clinic patient, to see dietitians when they're in those early stages, so that hopefully we can keep them out of a clinic as long as possible, and
But
they don't become
Cassandra,
that outpatient dialysis patient.
if the doctor doesn't refer them, I mean, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, you have 9 out of 10 people with stage 3 kidney disease and don't even know it. So if they
Yes.
don't know that they have stage 3 and they've been on the same diet that got them to stage 3, but no one tells them that to change your lifestyle or not, if you continue to eat or your lifestyle that you was doing, you're going to get to stage 5 faster than later. How do we close that gap to get that education out there, since uh, the doctors are not referring patients? I don't know, maybe the patients may not have insurance to cover that. I don't know, but how do we get that information out there to patients that may be in one of the stages of kidney disease, to prevent them from actually turning the kidney disease into kidney failure?
Well, what you're doing is one thing, and that is, just putting the education out there, social media, those types of things. As dietitians, we try to advocate for the patient in the doctor's office. We may drop off flyers. A lot of your private dietitians will drop off flyers and say, if you have a patient experiencing anything like this, you should call me. So just the education, also taking the time to meet doctors. Dietitians have a tendency to do that. They will go into doctors' offices and say, I just want to let you know about these services. I'll say dietitians hound doctors a lot. We hound doctors a lot. I've worked with some doctors who are just, they're on top of their nutrition and getting their patients, but I've worked with some who you do have to hound them and say, this is, the place for your patient to be, is to be in the office, sitting and talking with the dietitian. As educators, nurses, and dietitians, we have to, as we're talking to our patients, tell them these are things when you're talking to your family members in group settings, at the family reunions, at things like that, and you're hearing, oh, my diabetes numbers aren't too good, or my blood pressure is up. You need to turn around and say, did you ask your doctor about your kidneys too? I'm a huge advocate for, when my patients go to the doctor, you need to ask the doctor, what are my numbers? A lot of times we are only concerned with what our blood sugar looks like. Sometimes we want to know what our blood pressure look like. All the time we want to know what our weight look like. That's the number one. What did our weight look like? But you also need to add another question in there. And what does my kidneys look like? And you want to ask those questions every time you go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. So and even when you don't have kidney disease, you need to be aware of those numbers. If you don't have high cholesterol, you need to be aware of those numbers, just so that if those numbers change, you can look at your doctor and say, why are they changing and what do I need to do? So I'm a huge advocate for telling patients, family members, everybody, the doctor, when you go in to see him, he's there to answer your questions. Do not be afraid to ask them. And do not be afraid to tell him, print me out a piece of paper with my labs on them. And you keep them. And when you go to see him again, you say, well, I know this is what it looked like this time. So you tell me what's the difference between this visit and last visit.
Compare.
Yes. Challenge your healthcare professionals. I love it when my patients challenge me because they make me go and research something that I may not know the answer to. Your healthcare professional may not know the answers all right then, but you need to challenge them and make sure they get you the answers.
Absolutely. Because you know what, Cassandra? I was just sitting here thinking while you were talking. Dialysis companies, DaVita, Fresenius, and the rest of them, they're in the business to do dialysis. That's how they make their money. They don't make money unless the machines run. Kidney doctors treat kidney disease. My point is, education is very important because it would seem like the clinics or the corporations and the nephrologists wouldn't have an incentive to keep you off dialysis because they make their money seeing you on dialysis and having the machines run. So, I mean, that's why you have to do the education, because I just feel like a lot of these doctors, they make more money seeing you on dialysis, rather you come into their office every 6 months where they can see you every week or however they come around and do that charge. I mean, we all know it's a money thing. I mean, because each time those machines run, the companies are getting paid. So education is really critical. I mean, if we had some serious education, I don't think we would have this explosion of diabetes and hypertension, those being the two leading causes of kidney failure, not polycystic or anything genetic. I mean, nothing like that has caused the explosion of these facilities other than diabetes and hypertension. How important is that, Cassandra, to get that dietary in check?
It is very important. It is. It's very important. And education is, where it starts. Education is where it starts. You don't know what you don't know. So that's where that education piece comes in. It comes in. I will say, the research, a lot of times people will get on the computer and they'll try to do their own research. If the doctor asks them or a doctor tells them there's something's going on with their kidneys, it still is best that you ask to see a dietitian, because there are different stages of kidney disease, and the individual person needs that individual care, and every stage does not need the same recommendations. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you are getting what you need for your kidney care and not the person beside you. Because if you're getting generic information off the internet, you actually may be doing yourself some harm because you're not in that stage. I will be honest. I actually had a patient the other day who did some generic reading on the internet, and one of the things he read was to decrease his fluid intake, which at certain stages, our dialysis patients, they do have to decrease their fluid intake. But at a chronic kidney disease stage 3, that's not a recommendation. So if he had not spoken with me, he actually could have been doing more harm to his kidneys than good, because at that stage, you need to have that additional water and make sure that you are giving the kidneys a good amount of water throughout the day. And so that is why that education does come to play, and you do want to get it from a professional so that you do just get individual education that is for you, for your body, and for your state that you are in.
So what would you say to someone who has kidney disease that may be on Medicaid or Medicare and they can't afford the services of a dietitian? What could you recommend to those folks?
So what I would do is there's some, for one, Medicare actually does pay for nutrition education for chronic kidney disease.
Oh, let me ask you something right quick. So what if someone goes to a facility and they don't like their dietitian? They say, my dietitian is trash. She's not always there. She comes and she only spends 2 seconds with me and she keeps it moving. Can they still see someone outside the dialysis facility, dietitian?
They can. Usually they probably would have to pay out of pocket, because it depends on how their insurance is paying at the clinic. It kind of depends on how their insurance is paying in the clinic, if they are still able to see someone outside.
But what
it really depends if you have what type of insurance you have and the types of coverage that you have. So that kind of becomes it depends on what coverage you have.
But we see this all the time. Some units don't have a regular dietitian, and you got dietitians from different units that don't even know the patients. And so patients may fall through the crack and not get the valuable information that's needed to sustain a quality life through nutrition. Now, what about them? And they're still getting billed, but they're not getting the quality service that they need, but they're still getting billed.
So honestly, I would tell them you want to take that up with higher management. If you don't feel like you are getting the services that you deserve, you do need to take that up with higher management, corporate. And if that means, as the patients, you need to come together and advocate for either your facility getting another dietitian, because that one is not there all the time, or someone coming in and helping that person because they are so busy and they have so many patients. It is as a patient, you have more of a voice than you think you do. So I really feel like, just as a patient, if you don't feel like you're getting the services that you deserve, and that's with anything, with your dietitian, with your social worker, with your nursing staff, you need to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself and find those numbers and call those corporate offices.
Yeah, sometimes patients feel if they do that, they may be retaliated against.
Yeah, and I have heard patients say that. But I honestly feel like you got to you got to advocate for yourself. You really do. I have a child with special needs, and that alone has taught me that you have to advocate for yourself. You have to. There's just no other way to be, to make sure that you get what you need and what you deserve.
Right.
So
Wow.
when you're working with those doctors and referrals and things such as that, you just can't. You can't. And I also feel like when you hold your team to the fire, they're going to give you the service. They're going to give you the service that you deserve, because most healthcare professionals are going to step up their game because they know you're ready. You're ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Wow.
I'm pretty sure, like, as a nurse, you knew which patients was gonna hold you accountable, and you got to be on point with them.
You're right. You're right.
So I honestly feel like, as a patient, all patients should be like that with their
and
providers.
it's really ironic that you said that, because I put a post out there this week or today, a couple of days ago, saying that patients and staff develop relationships because we're there all the time, and even though you develop maybe some friendships or relationships, there still has to be some boundary there where you still have to hold me or the staff accountable. Forget about the friendship, because it's a professional relationship. And so I can't just come up and not wash my hands because I know you, and not do what I should be doing far as my job, and just because I know you, that I shy away from the procedures and the policy because I feel comfortable. No, you still have to be held accountable
Yes.
for what you do. And so a lot of times that kind of, and I'm sure you may have seen it kind of get mixed up, because patients and staff get involved with each other, not in a sense of dating or anything like that, but just the relationship sometimes become a little skewed because maybe some lines were crossed or not put in place when you first met the person, or somewhere along that line, those boundaries got crossed.
But yeah, I do really truly believe that when the patient holds you accountable, for one, it makes you a better professional. It makes you a
Absolutely.
better professional when the patients hold you accountable for what you do.
Absolutely. So hold them people accountable.
Yeah. I mean, that's what that is, because it will make, I know it does me. It makes me, as a professional, go above and beyond, one, to just help my patients, because I know they're looking for it. They want it, and I'm gonna give it to them. So that education is the key.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know I mentioned we were going to be on an hour, so I want to kind of wrap it up a little. But before we go, what information can you share with people watching this broadcast that may be dealing with chronic kidney disease, either throughout the stages or on dialysis or have a transplant? What can they take away from this program tonight, and what you do as a renal dialysis dietitian? What critical key takeaways can these people get from you to live a better quality life with this disease through their diet?
Well, the first part I would start is know that nutrition does play a huge role. It plays a huge role. There are different things that you can do in different stages, but it plays a massive role in how the kidneys function, how we maintain function, and just how we feel even after dialysis, after transplant, how those kidneys work when transplants comes in. And so nutrition is a huge piece. Don't be scared to ask your physician to see a dietitian. And if they say, well, I don't know one, you tell them I need you to find me one. Do not be afraid to ask for that nutrition education, because the nutrition education can help you maintain kidney function, help you feel better while you're on dialysis. So I would, and then when you are a patient in the clinic, take the time to ask your renal dietitian to sit down with you and to talk with you. Utilize her time. If you don't want to talk while you're on the machine and you rather come in 30 minutes before your appointment, tell her I want to meet with you 30 minutes before I get on the machine so we can talk, or 30 minutes after, so that you can have that one-on-one time, possibly while you're not on the machine. Sometimes when you're on the machine, you may be a little preoccupied, or you just don't feel the best and you want to talk before, or you want to talk after. Or you may even want to talk on a day that you don't even have dialysis and you just want to stop by the clinic. Take the time to make those appointments with your dietitian. Express your concerns. Advocate for yourself and know your numbers. When you're in chronic kidney disease stages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, end-stage renal disease, on dialysis, transplant, know your numbers. Ask the doctor to explain your labs to you and make sure that you do understand what they mean, so that you can be an advocate for yourself and say, what do I need to do to get my phosphorus down? What do I need to do to get my creatinine down? How can I improve my GFR? Know those numbers. So those would be the main things that I would say throughout the stages, to think about. Just making sure that you do take the time to get with the dietitian, know your numbers, advocate for yourself. We're here. We're here to help, and we are hoping to help more and more people than are being helped right now.
Mm-hmm. Can anybody, if they wanted to talk to you on Facebook, can they reach out to you, or?
Well, I don't really have a Facebook
Y'all got you.
dietitian page, but I do. I work with Kidney RD, which is a kidney counseling program. There's great recipes and things on there. There's a group of dietitians, so you can research Kidney RD.
Okay.
And that's where we are. Yeah.
Kidney RD, just kidney and then RD, like renal
RD.
dietitian.
Yep, it's Kidney RD with the capital R and the capital D.
Okay. Anybody want to give a shout out to?
I just, thank my family for one, my husband, my sisters. This journey, we've all been on this, together, watching, with my sisters. And honestly, my husband's been there the whole time too. So Dad Advice TV just says Jess and her team are amazing. So yeah. So
Oh,
that's
so y'all know each other.
yes,
Small world.
that's Kidney RD. So but no, just a little shout out to my husband, my family, and my sisters, cause we this journey has been a journey. And they knew even me going into Dallas, I was a little hesitant because I was a little, and I had days that I would cry because I would think about my sister. But I know I'm in a place at a space where I'm supposed to be to help patients with chronic kidney disease.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we do a show on Wednesday night called Warriors Quest. And I would love to invite you as a co-host. It's with Jared A. Brown. This show gives kidney warriors who are looking for a living donor a platform to seek a living donor. And by you being a living donor, we would love to have you as a co-host. We do this show every Wednesday at 8 from 8:30 to 9:30. So he'll probably reach out to you to see what Pacific Wednesday, you will be available if you would like to come on and be a co-host.
All right.
Because, the more we get this information out that you share with diet, I think I call it, we can flatten the curve and on kidney disease and prevent people. Even we can still let them build the clinics, but we don't have to let people go inside. If we flatten the curve, we can prevent them from going inside those clinics.
We don't have to fill them up.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we can't stop them from building them, but we can decrease the the rate from filling up. So that's what I want to do, is flatten the curve.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody said something. Can you get, okay, I'll tell you in a minute. But Cassandra, thank you so much for coming on World Kidney News. And again, when Jared lets me know, I'll reach out to you, give you his number to see if that's something you can do, just to get that information out there some more.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But thank you for taking the time out. Tell your husband thank you for his service. And again, thank you for coming on World Kidney News.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, guys. This was a great show. So, Melvin, that show is called Warriors Quest. We have a page called Warriors Quest on Facebook. Every Wednesday from 8:30 to 9:30. Reach out to Jared A. Brown. He was on this feed. Sheila, let me see. I am paying attention to the comments and questions. One that I wanted to address, you had asked about 5-year wait. If you're talking about transplant, each state or region, or each state has a waiting time for a transplant. Some people go to other states because that list may have less waiting time. Like I think in Maryland, they say the wait time is 5, 6, 7 years. New York, maybe 7 years. And other places may be shorter time for the transplant. And then you also asked about the hereditary. With kidney disease, you do have some hereditary conditions like polycystic kidney disease that can be passed down, and some other ones. But when it comes to diabetes type 2 and hypertension, you can't pass that down. It's pretty much environmental. But you're more likely to see your parents do eat whatever, you're more likely to do the same thing. And that's how that pattern goes. Lisa Baxter says in New York, the wait time is 7 years. So yeah, Melvin, if you want to come on the show, reach out to Jared A. Brown. We are more than welcome to have you on to help you seek a living donor. That's what we do. No strings attached, nothing to pay, none of that, brother. Just come on the show when the slot is open. Reach out again to Jared A. Brown. Yeah, we kind of did a show on this, but in my opinion, because one, African Americans, they don't talk about it, the education. I believe because a lot of African Americans are already at risk for like diabetes and hypertension. So, if you're already at risk, and then you take one of my kidneys, I'm going to be at greater risk. Point in case, I met a gentleman in my career that donated a kidney to his mom. And his mom, that kidney lasted for 5 years, right? And then the son, he ended up having kidney disease and he was on dialysis. So we got to figure out a way where we can use that diet to maintain health, keep the numbers down, educate. And yes, you can live off of one kidney, but if you already got the debt stacked against you, what do you do? I mean, if you live in a urban area around food deserts and your brother or someone got kidney disease through hypertension and diabetes, and you're 9 out of 10 people got stage 3 kidney disease, particularly blacks, and don't even know it. I mean, we already got the stack against us to even donate. Yes. Have blacks donated kidneys? Yes. Could it be more? Yes. But there's a lot more to it. We talked about this the other day on the show with David Chrisman, a filmmaker out of Beverly Hills, about the opt-in and opt-out and people passing and organ harvesting and all that. But yeah, we need to definitely have another show and more education on that, Melvin. You absolutely right, Lisa. Oh, Melvin says, I had a living donor and I'm good. I just know of a couple of individuals. I know, man. I know. And if they want to come on Warriors Quest, if they on Facebook and they want to come on Warriors Quest, Melvin, have them reach out to Jared A. Brown. And we would love to get them on and help them find a donor, especially if they're listed at a transplant center. So thank you guys, Sheila Bradley, Melvin Morrison, Lisa Baxter, Dad Vice, Tanja Brown. Thank you for watching. God bless you as well. Guys, please subscribe, like, follow our page, Urban Health Outreach Media. We on YouTube. KB, thank you for watching as well. Warriors Quest, Urban Kidney Alliance, Rochelle Jones, thank you for watching. Guys, keep coming back like they say at the meetings. Keep coming back. Don't miss the miracle. They said the best is yet to come, especially with this information. We love you guys. We're going to keep it flowing the best way we can. Hey, Lisa, thank you. God bless you guys for watching. And again, just keep on watching. Tune in tomorrow night for Sisters Against Kidney Disease. Till Death Do Us Part with Audrey Bella Langston right here on Urban Health Outreach Media. The Sisters Against Kidney Disease at 8:30 right here on Urban Health Outreach Media with Bella. is going to be off the chain. Her show, Till Death Do Us Part. You're going to want to see that show. See you guys later. Stay blessed and encouraged. And we see you again tomorrow. Peace.
Oh, I've been walking beneath streetlights. I've been walking, cause I can't find peace on these nights. I've been walking, but my strides are getting slower. Still I'm walking, but I don't know where I'm going. I've been looking for love, but only found deception. Told my secrets to some people.
This is the Polish Ambassador, featuring the Grouch and Scott Nice. Don't get it twisted.
I might be conscious, still I like to fuck.
I like it.
Do a little yoga, then lift some weights up. I be as I'm supposed to, perfectly imperfect. Indulge in deep combo, get hype when she's